Yo, ladies and gentlemen, what up though? This is your boy Chris B. Daniels, and you are now on Show and Talk. All right, y'all. So tonight's movie was actually a request by Rico Covington. Shout outs to Rico. You know, you picked the good one, you picked the decent one. You know what I'm saying? Um, that movie is Knock at the Cabin. So when I seen the trailer for this movie in theaters, I really didn't know what to think about it at first. You know what I'm saying? Because I thought, like, the way the trailer was presented, you had these four people. Dave Bautista being one of them. You know, amongst the group or whatever. Um, Traveling to this cabin. So basically, I thought there was just a bunch of psychos or whatever, like, kidnapping a family and just torturing them or whatever. That's sort of what happened, but not really. You know what I mean? But when I watched the actual movie, like, my whole opinion changed. Now, this movie it had a message to it. You know what I'm saying? It was more like a biblical film. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not really a religious person. I'll be honest with you, I'm really not. But this movie, it didn't stop me from liking this movie. You know what I'm saying? So basically, the movie starts off by this couple. It's like this gay couple or whatever. You know what I mean? They're traveling to this cabin. I guess they're on vacation or whatever. It's their vacation cabin. I'm not sure, or it's a cabin they rented out. Not really certain, but they adopted this little Asian girl, and it's like, from what I see with her, basically, like, before the event started, and when she seen Dave Bautista's character, his name is Leonard, by the way, in this movie. When she seen him, in the distance, approaching her, coming towards her, like, she struck me as one of those, like, kids in the movies. You know how he got the kids in the movies? They're, like, silent. They're not really afraid of much or anything like that. It's like they can keep their composure. And usually, if that was like a realistic situation, you got some big ass dude approaching you or whatever, and you're a child her age, you might run away. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't know what's going on. You don't know why this dude is walking up to you. You don't know nothing. You know what I'm saying? You don't know anything. But she just strikes me as one of those silent, protagonist kids or whatever. But anyway, Andrew. Leonard walks up to her, right? That's Dave Bautista's character, by the way. I'm just, making that clear. But anyway, he walks up to her, talking to her, trying to befriend her. And she's telling him, I'm not supposed to talk to strangers or whatever. And then he basically introduces himself to her. That way he's no longer a stranger to her. That's how most adults do, most creepy adults do when they're trying to kidnap a kid or whatever. And stop for a second, because I do have a story like this of my own. Back then, it was like 96, 97. I was actually at this church thing. They was having some kind of event, like a cookout or something. And I was walking around the woods, because it was in like a wooded area. And so I was just walking around. I think I was by myself, but I wasn't too far from the group. And this car rolled up on me. It was like this couple. So they asked me, everything all right? You okay? Do you want us to take you back to the group? Blase, blase. And I said, nah. Because even though I was like 9 to 10 years old when this happened, I was still smart enough to be like, nah, I'm not that far. I'll be fine, And then they said, okay, rolled up their window and went on their way. But, I wasn't sure what that was about, because I'm pretty sure they passed all of those people approaching me in a car and everything. So, that's what made it questionable anyway. But, so what happened was, he then tells her he feels guilty basically for what he has to do. And she's over here asking him, what does he got to do? Blah, blah, blah. Because at first he's not telling her. So eventually, as they're talking or whatever, she gets up because I think she sees the other people in the distance approaching as well. So that's what makes her get up. I'm trying to get everything right because I seen this movie one time and it was a while ago. So I believe that's what made her get up and go into the cabin. So she goes in, informs her parents of what's going on. And the guys' names are Andrew and Eric. You know what I'm saying? Eric is more like how can I put it, man? He's more like I'm not gonna say motherly type because he's a dude, but he's more like the nurturing type character. You know what I'm saying? Like the more soft spoken, the more easy one to talk to or whatever. And then Andrew is more like the dad character. So he's more, he's not. They both treat the girl the same way, but he's more like outspoken or whatever. So when they finally get to the cabin and everything, they start knocking on the door because before that, the little girl is trying to tell them that, there's people at the door, and they want to see them or, whatever. So Andrew was just like, okay, what's going on? So they get a knock at the door and it's the 4 intruders. And the other 3 intruders, you got what's her name? Abby Quinn, Adrian. I think she said she was a housewife or something like that. Nah, she was something, but she was like the softest one out of the group, like the nicest one out of the group, And then you got Nikki Amuka, you know what I'm saying? Bird, she played Sabrina. She was a nurse. You know what I mean? And she was more the timid one. She really, 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 really didn't want to do what they had to do, but it had to be done. And then you had what's his name? Rupert Grint that played Redmond. Now he was more of the like the complaining, like the one that was complaining all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't want to do it either, but he wanted to get it done more than anybody else because he knew the stakes as well. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else was timid about it, but he was just like, nah, fuck that. This shit needs to happen. So what happened was after that, they're trying to tell, Andrew and Eric, because they wound up breaking into their house, right? And then they tie the 2 adults up. Well, actually, they tie all 3 of them up. So they're telling the adults they're basically not there to kill them or hurt them or anything like that. But what needs to be done is a sacrifice because what's happening is the planet is going out of whack. But for some reason, that particular family was chosen to make the sacrifice to save the world, save the planet. So at first, they're both skeptical. Andrew is the more skeptical one, right? Like he's way more skeptical than Eric. So after the first day, your boy Redmond, the one I was telling you about, the guy that was really, really, really wanting to get it done, he's the first sacrifice. So the reason why the group starts sacrificing themselves is because it's, basically biding time. It's holding it off, holding everything off or whatever, slowing everything down. So they recite, a passage or whatever like that. And then what happens after that, one of the group members winds up sacrificing him. You know what I'm saying? And I think he gets either, what happens to him? I think he gets his head cut off or something. You know what I'm saying? Now, and then after he dies, they buy themselves another day. So both of the guys are still extremely skeptical at this point. And then they just thinking that, this group is crazy as hell. You know what I'm saying? Like, who the hell are y'all? Y'all, is this a joke? You know what I'm saying? Like, Andrew especially thinks they're a cult. And it's like, okay, if you was in that situation, right, and you're tied up by some intruders and they telling you that you got to make a sacrifice in order to save the planet, and then they start, killing themselves one by one in front of you, I mean, it possibly could be a cult. I don't know. But what happens is Leonard tells them to turn the TV on. Like he's begging them to turn the TV on to give them proof that, you know, something is happening to the planet. And it can only be stopped if one of the guys sacrifice themselves. So they do that. And at this point, Andrew is still really skeptical. Like, you know, it's a coincidence. You know what I mean? Ain't nothing happening. This is all like some bullshit, basically. Because he think when he first saw the incident that happened, you know, the floods and everything, he thought it was just like a pre-recorded program or whatever. And Eric, you know what I'm saying? He was starting to feel like, okay, well, maybe this is real. You know what I mean? So he was still fighting to get free, but then he wasn't fighting as hard as he was in the beginning. And the little girl was just, you know, she was more just being there, you know. But time goes on, another day goes on, right? So day 2. And the lady, what's her name? Not Abby, that's that's the name of the actress, but Adrian is her name. So she's sitting at the table, you know, talking to the little girl and everything. And you would think, you know what I'm saying, this lady would survive and everything because she talks about her son and all of that, blase. So it's like that second day, like after the end of the second day, to buy themselves more time, she's next in line to sacrifice herself because they still want to keep things slow until one of the guys decides to finally sacrifice themselves. So when that's done, it's another day. So you only got 2 characters left, right? You got Sabrina and you got Leonard. And at this point, not Eric, but Andrew, he winds up getting fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like his leg is messed up or whatever. So he's running. He's trying to get to the, the car or whatever, because he has a gun, you know what I'm saying, stashed in the car. So he makes it there. Then a black woman, which is, Sabrina, is chasing him and begging him to stop. You know what I'm saying? She don't want to hurt him. She don't want to do nothing. But he's begging her, you know what I'm saying, please don't, you know what I'm saying, do this. Don't, she's basically very, 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 very timid. Like, but it has to be done. So Andrew, he winds up, threatening her with the gun and everything. So she backs up. And after this, he ends up back in the house, right? So he's confronting Leonard. So Eric is still there and everything, but at this point, Eric is not really putting up much of a fight. So he goes to confront Leonard, and then here comes Sabrina, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's really trying to, get this thing done. But Andrew winds up shooting and killing her, you know what I'm saying? So she's really the only one that doesn't have the traditional sacrifice while she's alive. So after she winds up dying, Leonard, he takes an axe or something and then winds up cutting her head off. And then he takes her to the back room along with the other 2 that was sacrificed. So now it's just down to him. And he still don't want to hurt nobody. That's the crazy part about it. Like, he's still a nice guy, but he knows it has to be done. So what happens next is he winds up going into the bathroom, right? So they're looking for him because he knows now, okay, now they trying to kill me at gunpoint. They trying to hold him at gunpoint. So he winds up wrestling Andrew or whatever, and I believe he wrestles the gun away. So what happens is he's like, okay, I can't do this. And this is like day 3, day 4, something like that. So he goes outside, right? They all go outside. And Leonard is sitting there preparing to, sacrifice himself. And they're, you know what I'm saying, Andrew is still skeptical. Now, Eric at this point, he completely believes it. So Leonard winds up killing himself. And this is to slow everything down again. So after everybody's dead, they see that the planet is getting worse and worse. You know, you got floods and everything else. So what happens is at this point, I know I keep saying at this point 1,000 times, y'all. My bad. It's kind of a habit at this point. But nah, seriously though, Eric, he winds up telling Andrew, you know what I'm saying? Just go ahead and do it. Kill me. That'll save the planet. And Andrew was like, nah. You know what I'm saying? He really don't want to do it because he's still skeptical. You know what I'm saying? Like, you had 3 people that just committed suicide, right? Right in front of you. And you still being skeptical and you see what's going on TV. So Andrew winds up doing it. He winds up taking Eric out or whatever, right? Because while they were tied up, Eric said he seen some kind of a guy or a spirit or something like that in their backyard. But, you know, he could have just been delusional. But he really believed that, you know, it was a sign that he was the chosen one or whatever. So when Andrew sacrificed him, everything just stopped all of a sudden. So they wound up leaving the cabin. It was Andrew and Wynn, the little girl. So they get into the truck and they're driving down the street and they come across this diner. So when they enter the diner, you got all of these people in there watching the events, you know what I'm saying, just slow down on TV. Everything stopped. Everything is being basically being not put back together, but everything has slowed down and the world is saved pretty much. So Andrew finally is convinced that, yeah, okay, Eric was supposed to be sacrificed, or it was supposed to be him, one of them, to get everything to stop, you know? So after this, the movie pretty much wraps up, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. Cause I don't know, but like I said, yo, it was a pretty good film. You know, I might watch it again just because the trailer did captivate me. It's just the fact that you had 4 strangers coming to a cabin and you ain't know what was about to happen. Cause like I said, when I seen the trailer, I didn't know what to think. I thought the movie was gonna be kind of like the movie The Strangers, where the people came inside them people houses or whatever, and then they tied everybody up and everything. So I thought it was gonna be something like that, but it wasn't. So like I said, it was a good movie. If I gotta give it a rating, I will give it I give it an 8 out of 10. Cause it did have a message too, even though I'm not religious, but I clearly seen it. Now the movie's directed by M. Night Shyamalan, which he, you know, directed some good movies. He had some misfires. And the good movie he directed was Signs. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, you know, people don't like The Village, but I thought it was a pretty good movie. Sixth Sense was a great film, you know. And then you got the what was it, Glass, Unbreak, you know, the trilogy, those movies. But yeah, Knock at the Cabin. Oh man, it was good, yo. It was good. It's on Peacock, so if you want to watch it, check it out on there. And the movie kind of reminds me of a movie called Frailty. How many of y'all have seen that movie? Yo, that shit is a great movie. I might even review that one next. But if you watch Frailty, then watch Knock at the Cabin, you might see what I'm talking about. But yeah, y'all, I'm about to jump off of here. It's getting kind of late. I got to take a shit. So I'll get back with y'all later on. All right? Peace.